results of an exclusive Channel 6 poll clearly show Northlanders at odds with prevailing attitudes in the state. Here are the principal findings. 45% of those surveyed in June wanted motor restrictions to stay the same. 29% wanted those restrictions relaxed. Only 12% wanted motor restrictions tightened in the wilderness. We also found a majority of Northlanders favor returning 3 motorized portages closed by a 1993 court decision by margin of 47 to 37%. That's at odds with statewide polls. A Star Tribune WCCO poll says 69% of Minnesotans favor restricting motor use even further. That poll also says 3/4 of Minnesotans oppose easing restrictions on motor use in the 2 parks. Congressman Jim Oberstar says poll results can be skewed depending on how polling questions are asked.
Poll results depend on the question asked. And when the question is asked in a way that informs people of the substance of the issue, it comes out in favor of these very limited adjustments that I'm trying to make.
Polls or not, people of northern Minnesota have strong opinions about the wilderness areas here.
That's selfish, if you ask me. If you just want to run your motorboats all over the place and chase the moose and the deer and the wolves back into the woods away from that annoying sound, you know.
In '78, we were pictured as people who ran down deer with snowmobiles, kind of the outstate savage type people, and we're not that way.
People on both sides of the issue say an agreement to fit everyone's needs has to be made. Kim Steininger, Channel 6 News. Thousands of millions of people watched the Olympic opening ceremonies tonight. One man and his wife in 2 Harbors were feeling the spirit of the games. Marty and Marie Avelsgaard were excited for the games to begin because Marty was a part of them. He helped bring the torch to Atlanta. He was one of the 10,000 people who helped bring the flame across the country to Atlanta.
It's kind of fun to know that you had a part in getting the flame to the Olympics. And so it means more, I guess, than any other Olympics that I've ever watched. And it's the closest I've ever been to an Olympics, probably as close as I'll ever be.
On June 2nd, Marty carried the torch through St. Paul. He and his family say it was a once-in-a-lifetime experience.
It was really exciting when the torch was lit in downtown St. Paul. It's such a short amount of time, so, you know, you really grasp onto that moment.
Kind of funny, it's probably the only time, and the first time certainly, that you feel like you're a celebrity and you're wondering why.
The opening ceremony is a memory for most of us, but for Marty and Marie, it's a memory that lives on in the brass and hand-carved Georgia pecan and his Olympic torch. In 2 Harbors, Kim Steininger, Channel 6 News.
And we do this through having the muster and the parade and bringing people into town and other ways of this nature so that we can make some more money for the museum.
I just remember waking up and hearing this loud bang on this side of my head. It was like the loudest thing I've ever heard.
night at the head of the Lakes Fair in Superior. Free admission kicked off the first night of the fair. Even though it was damp and muddy, that didn't stop many people from finding the best rides. We set out on a mission to find the best rides, the rides that make people sick.
It was great. Brought my neighbor on, he's 10 years old, he loved it.
We found rides that went upside down, up and down, and spun around. Our photographer voted this ride the most sickening. But most people agreed. The ride that makes you the most sick?
The Ring of Fire.
The Ring of Fire.
Well, here it is, the baddest of the bad. The ride behind me, it's the Ring of Fire. This is the ride that makes everyone sick. Fans have to wait until Wednesday to experience the Ring of Fire stomach turner. It's not yet set up. So head on out if you're looking for a ride to lift you up, turn you upside down, or spin you round. In Superior, Kim Steininger, Channel 6 News.
They need parts that are still underwater. The main parts of the fuselage that have to be recovered are those parts that will yield the clues that we need to, for investigators to determine the probable cause. They were so close to being gone, you know, because they understand the power to save them.
There's one young person here who's going to be 21 years old in November, and he's, since he was turned 17, he's started and is operating 4 businesses, and
We did agree with the DNR and the Coast Guard where the truck came in contact with the ground, that we would dig up and remove that soil there so there wouldn't, just in the case there was any contaminants there.
She decided the Good Samaritan, so I was really thankful.
What do you want to say to that person?
Just thank you. Thank you very much. She saved me a lot of trouble, a lot of heartache. I had $150 in there, credit cards.
Both of these areas, Voyageurs National Park and the Boundary Waters Wilderness Canoe Area, are national treasures that, and it's very important that they be preserved for our families and for future generations.
One thing that I would like to see is the original intent of the legislation that created Voyageurs National Park explored. I think that that is where a great deal of the misinformation stems from, and I would like to get back to the original legislative intent.
And gosh, not everybody agrees on everything. It's pretty surprising. And we don't think that they will necessarily, but they're listening to each other with respect, and that's really what will make this process work.
This student parking lot is empty now, but in 1 month it will be packed with cars. Cars that will be the targets of vandals. But the Superior School Board is trying to change that. They approved a plan to hire Midwest Patrol to be watchdogs. The school hoped to hire an off-duty officer, but decided patrolling was a better deal.
This is more economical. They would work in conjunction with our liaison in administration. Basically, they would refer the incidences to us.
The past school year contained many problems in the student parking lot. A suspicious car burning was the worst.
We've had numerous problems out there throughout the year with that, and most of it is damage to students' cars or theft.
Principal Mikologic is confident that the added security will decrease vandalism. Students that we talked to say they're supportive of their school tightening security this fall.
There's too many vandalisms and stuff going on, people doing things to people's car, like putting stuff all over it, breaking windows, breaking and stealing radios, things like that.
Mikologic says those problems will be decreased, but not without an increased parking fee. Students can expect to pay up to $11 for a parking permit, but some say it's worth it.
I think it's a little bit expensive, but as long as it's going towards people, to watch our cars and stuff in the parking lots for vandalism, it's all right then, I guess. But
students and school administration both say they are confident that the tighter security will deter any future crime. In Superior, Molly Boyum, Channel 6 News.
for Hispanic background continue.
And the underlying strength of the Clinton presidency is going to come through at the end of this convention, and it will prevail. It will continue because it is based on solid achievements. We've cut the deficit.
Well, this morning we had a dive team go down to an area below the Blotnick Bridge in Duluth. We've been diving down there for a couple of days now, and we believe that that was the location of where the weapon was disposed of. And this morning, about 10:30 or so, that a weapon was found down there.
You know, if he was out working in the yard or on the truck or something, he'd holler, "Hey, come on out," you know, or, you know, "Keith, help me with this," and he was good. Good man.
Like when I go bike riding, perseverance, I keep on going.
Oh, just link key, link
That's why I bike.
KCIO, I'm about to get trampled, okay? The ticket window's open 5 minutes early. We're down here at the deck ticket office. Melissa Etheridge. Third row.
I don't think you can tax businesses so that they cannot do well, but when you've got these big multinational corporations that are getting subsidies that no one else is getting, it's a matter of simple justice.
It happened here in Cable, Wisconsin. A 58-year-old Bayfield County Sheriff's Department officer was shot. Richard Parquette was responding to report of criminal damage here in this upstairs apartment. Just upstairs, there's 2 apartments up there. When he responded to the call, he went into the upstairs stairwell. When the suspect upstairs opened his door, shot fire at him, opened fire with an automatic rifle, and it was rapid fire. The officer was shot and died at the scene. That's when officers from surrounding counties were called in. A 6-hour standoff occurred after that, with the SWAT team finally bursting into the suspect's apartment at 3 o'clock. Officer Parquette was a 28-year veteran. He had been with the Bayfield County Sheriff's Department for 17 years. Bayfield County Sheriff Nett says the suspect, 36-year-old Ron Fisher, was from Hayward, Wisconsin, and apparently he spent his summers up here. So this has been a shock to the community. Members we talked to say this stuff just doesn't happen in Cable, Wisconsin. Back to you.
in every poll that's been conducted, they've taken a beating as far as what public opinion is saying. And they wanted to get a poll that they could use that would try to back up their positions.
Grand jurors heard evidence in the Paul Antonich murder case for 2.5 days at the Carleton County Courthouse. Late yesterday afternoon, they voted to indict the 5 suspects arrested in the case. 24-year-old John Stephen Martin, the alleged triggerman, faces 2 counts of first-degree murder.
The first count alleges, paraphrase this somewhat, but in essence that he caused the death of Paul Antonich on or about August 28th, 1996 in our county with premeditation. The second count as to John Stephen Martin alleges that on that same date and place and time that he did intentionally effect the death of Paul Antonich while committing the crime of kidnapping.
The grand jury also chose to hand up first-degree indictments against 32-year-old John Alexander Martin, 26-year-old Lester Dale Greenleaf, 21-year-old Andy Leo DeVerney, and 20-year-old Jamie Lee Aubud.
The indictments are identical, and they allege that they did individually and aiding and abetting and acting in concert with one another effect the death of Paul Antonich while committing the offense of kidnapping.
17-year-old Paul Antonich was murdered after a minor traffic accident at this intersection in Duluth while returning home from a church function. The location of the accident has since become a shrine in the memory of the teen. Police and autopsy reports indicate the high schooler had been beaten, then driven to a rural area in Carleton County where he was shot to death. Antonich's body was found in the trunk of his abandoned car. All 5 men have already been charged with second-degree murder in this case. They'll be back in Carleton County Court on Thursday to answer to these new charges. Michelle Lee, Channel 6 News.
He is being charged. Charges are pending in our city attorney's office. Because he's an officer of the law, doesn't give him the right to drive drunk and endanger other lives.
Not just the Wild Rivers trails, all the trails and things that Ms. Johnson talked about. Opposed, motion carries. Yes, Mr. Knight.
Resolution 15896, resolution by the law enforcement and executive committees. Super maximum state prison in Douglas County.
Mr. Brown made the motion, Mr. Kelster made the second to adopt resolution 15896. Discussion. Ms. Hooper.
I would like to apprise the
Most of our zoo events are family-oriented, and then we really try to have extra things for kids to do. Kind of gives them a little slow time while the parents catch up to them.
It looks like a political convention in here. The lobby of Duluth Central High School is decorated in red, white, and blue. Campaign literature is everywhere, and the school band plays a patriotic tune. But it was not politics as usual. These students and millions of others across Minnesota and the nation are taking part in Kids Voting Day. It's a program designed to get students of all ages excited about their role in the democratic process.
In 1993, one vote passed President Clinton's budget. So one vote truly has an effect on our elective process.
From candidates vying for office to the importance of casting a ballot, Central students have been learning the political ropes in their civics classes.
A lot of people out there who would risk their lives and do risk their lives to simply cast a ballot, where we as Americans sometimes won't even brave the 1.5-mile trip to the polls.
Students encourage their 18-year-old classmates to take the first step to getting involved in the political process by registering.
We all have the right to vote. We all have the privilege to be counted and the responsibility to get involved.
Those not old enough to vote can make their voices heard by participating in Kids Voting USA.
I wish there were people to listen to us teens more.
Northlanders will have an opportunity to hear the political issues that concern area students. On Election Day, Minnesota students will accompany a guardian to official polling sites to cast a kids' voting ballot. Balloting results will be published. In Duluth, Barbara Ryle, Channel 6 News.
On behalf of the bench in the 6th Judicial District, recognize you folks, and that nobody had to do, and this is something that by every account, all again remind us that those folks didn't take that attitude. They said,
seek to achieve that goal, and we must. And the training that you are involved in will go a long way towards helping people come to grips with our differences.
If you're not here in 10 minutes for the Northland's #1 rated 6 p.m. newscast, here's what you'll miss.
The state desegregation law is aimed at helping minority children get the best education possible. But is the law itself discriminatory? That's tonight's I-Team 6 report.
We'll see you at 6 on 6.
Flanked by key advisors, a grim Governor Arnie Carlson predicted crime could soon be an epidemic.
And we should be very, very careful in watching the trends that are occurring elsewhere, because almost inevitably it will come to our state.
The key proposals are $14 million for prevention. That includes opening state armories and community centers to kids until 10 p.m. each night, and sending kids who commit minor crimes to special youth camps. $30 million will be spent on enforcement. There will be 75 new state troopers, 10 new BCA officers in a statewide gang unit, and a new crime computer network. $15 million will be spent on corrections and courts. That includes special military-style youth camps for first-time juvenile offenders and a statewide teen court program to force penalties for minor crimes.
Build accountability in the system, especially when it comes to kids. Let's stop waiting for the kid to commit the serious offense before we do something.
We do not need new taxes to pay for this. It is all in the budget. It is all meshed with all of the other things. We are able to do it without tax increases.
Okay, thanks.
That's where the teddy bears get fixed, and then we go in here.
An emergency room can be an intimidating place, even for grown-ups. Imagine what it must be like for a small child. The cold metal tools, the bright lights, the strangers in funny clothes.
They don't know what to expect when they come, and then when they come when they're not sick, it helps them to see what the place is like so they're not so frightened when they do come.
The nurses here are volunteering their time to make sure these kids' first experience at the ER isn't as scary as the real thing.
We're going to take them in the examining room here, okay? Take a look at George.
So they invited preschoolers to bring their injured teddy bears or any other little furry friends in to get fixed up.
One little kid brought in a Dumbo whose hat fell off, and a little girl brought in a doll that didn't have an arm, so they created an arm for her, and some seams that were ripped, so it was pretty easy stuff for us compared to what we're used to.
Catherine Van Avery brought in her little sister's stuffed monkey. It needed eye surgery.
Well, look at his eyes coming back on, just wonderful. And now your monkey's going to be able to see again.
He had a loose eye.
What did she do to fix the eye?
She sewed it. My lammy she had a broken leg. He have a broken leg.
Jesse and Dylan Rockland's mom, Alicia, says now they can see that everyone at the ER is friendly and will take good care of them if they ever come in with a real injury.
I just wanted them to get a good idea of what happens when somebody's hurt, so that if there's any chance that they ever have to come in and be fixed up somehow, that they're not real nervous about it.
And what's wrong with the puppy? Huh? Puppy's got a nose. No, Jake.
In Duluth, Liza Olson, Channel 6 News.
Thank you for coming.
In Duluth, Minnesota, Liza Olson for NBC News.
Here we go. We'll give Lori a sticker right by the dogs. Is that okay? Okay. Tina, she'll fix it. Lanny. What's your monkey? Okay, we'll go over this way, okay? What's wrong with you?
Well, anytime that I can, of course, I speak out on this issue so that I can encourage everyone to get out and get those mammograms, especially women 50 and older.
I would like to see it continue to grow.
Well,
We found that the state had implemented a new type of treatment program for the psychopathic to sexual offender program. We weren't informed, and we'd like to know what's happening up there and why they had changed policy without acting and communicating with the community. And I think that's why we're all here tonight, is to see if jointly we can't resolve our differences here so our people can sleep at night again.
To buy health insurance and they can't afford it. The dark clouds of bush and quail are going to recede over the...
People are going to be able to have contact with the vice president. You know, today we'll have enough to get out. Exactly. So, because I mean, that's kind of how you frame.
I don't think we're scared at all. We're very confident about it. It's just, you know, another way to generate enthusiasm, and, you know, it's really exciting to have Al Gore say, look, this is what Paul Wellstone's doing for Minnesota families. And, you know,
Warren's been kind of spearheading this project for us, and he's got the hands-on.
They pay back their debt to society so that when they...
This morning, the fellows that come up here, they want to make it. They want to go straight. They want to be productive members. They want to, a lot of them are family members. They want to be good supporters of their family and this and that.
It seemed like your ordinary Sunday in Gilbert. Folks got up and fell into their usual routine of going to church. But this wouldn't be a normal day for them. The sound of 4x4s were blaring from a group of people who opposed the town of Gilbert from building an ATV track.
We did this today because the city council decided we were going to have this noise every weekend for the rest of our lives. So we wanted everybody to know exactly what that was going to be.
Most people here did notice them, but whether or not they are in favor of the track doesn't mean they agree with the form of protesting.
So why don't they just go down there and play it down there? It's not going to be that loud.
So you don't like the noise?
No. Why do they have to protest it this way?
And I think it serves a purpose to make a lot of the individuals aware of how much noise there really will be. Whether there will be that much noise now is another thing that remains to be seen.
The noise was loud enough that it brought neighbors outside. But they weren't the only ones. It also brought the police. But ATV owners say protesters exaggerated the noise level.
What's the difference? I can bring an ATV up here if you want. Sounds nothing like that. They're quiet. I don't know where all the noise is going to come from that you're talking about, but.
Mike did return a few minutes later with his 4x4 and demonstrated the noise level it makes. This sparked demonstrators to argue even louder with track supporters.
We'll do our test with the ATVs. We're home.
There will be tests next week, next Friday, in our yard.
Protesters say they will fight the project till the end, but supporters say they're not giving up either, while others just want their small town to be quiet again. In Gilbert, Molly Boyum, Channel 6 News.
It doesn't happen hardly ever. That's why it shocked me so much. It doesn't happen. I was stationed on a ship for 4.5 years. It didn't happen once.
Both candidates have relied heavily on attack advertising, but Rudy Boschwitz has been widely perceived as being the most negative, and analysts say it may have backfired.
The fundamental error that Boschwitz made was, in fact, to put all of his eggs in one basket. And that perhaps is the result of his advisor.
An advisor brought in by New York Senator Alphonse D'Amato. But if Boschwitz has had second thoughts, it's too late. He was persuaded some believe that it was the only way to reclaim what he thought was his.
Of course it hurt when I lost. Sure, and it takes a long time to get over that. It took me months and months.
Paul Wellstone had a rocky 6 years as senator, attacked from all sides for liberal and sometimes controversial positions. Tonight he has one last chance to look like a U.S. senator before a critically important northeastern Minnesota audience. He says he's ready.
But we're going to have the debate, and I hope people will watch. The debate should be civil. We can have honest differences. That's the way it should be. And we can talk about issues that are important to people in northern Minnesota.
What difference in momentum do you think the debates are?
The students have been invited to play with the Duluth Superior Symphony Orchestra February 8th, and we're pretty excited about it. So we needed additional uniforms to complement what we already have, and so a group of parents got together and decided to do a fundraiser project so we could all have the students outfitted in uniforms.
Whether you're a jogger, a walker, or a competitive backyard athlete, there's really no reason not to take the dog along. The fact is, not only does the dog benefit, but you will too. Like most Dalmatians, Starbuck requires a lot of exercise. In addition to daily walks, his owner, Debbie Gross, takes him to agility classes.
He gets almost depressed when he's not exercised, and he's really his happiest when he's real tired after a good romp.
But despite the temptation to grab the pooch and start your pre-winter exercise program, consider a few facts before you start. Give some consideration to what kind of shape your dog's in and what age it is. If your dog's shape is rounder than it should be, including the dog in some outside exercises is a great idea, but do it every day and do it gradually. If your dog is under 6 months of age, just playing with the dog every day is probably enough. Save the rigorous exercise for when they're older. A 1-mile walk once or twice a day isn't unreasonable for most adult dogs, but it's unnecessary for pups.
You find out what your dog is more inclined to want to do. If he just wants to walk around the block, then that's the type of thing you should encourage with him.
A homemade obstacle course is really simple to make, and it's inexpensive. You just have to match the obstacle with the legs. Always wait at least an hour after your dog eats before letting it run or jump. Food and liquid in the stomach can cause the stomach to twist, and that's an emergency you can do without. Don't let your dog drink large amounts of water at one time during vigorous exercise. And never tie the dog to the bicycle and go for a ride. It can injure the pet as well as the rider. It's all common sense, but it does make the difference when it comes to keeping you and your pet healthy. For NBC News, I'm Dr. Rich Ford.
They look pretty tame at certain times of the year. That's the way they get it, feeders in the winter. But they're wild, and at all times of the year they eat, sometimes what some folks don't want them to eat.
I had 32 rose bushes starting from there up to here. They come in and they eat them right down to the ground.
Joe Seal is one of many supporters of the Minnetonka Deer Management Program. He says for 40 years he enjoyed his garden. The last 3, the deer have enjoyed it all. But members of Minnetonkans Against Animal Cruelty oppose the killing of deer to control population. 2 got themselves arrested last winter as they were trying to make videos of the Deer Management Program operations. They say they have a better way of managing deer than killing more than 200 a year for the next 3 years. They say deer can be vaccinated against pregnancy.
It's really not as bizarre as it first sounds to people.
Jay Kirkpatrick is a wildlife reproductive physiologist who is vaccinating deer against pregnancy on Fire Island National Seashore.
It's not hormonal forms of contraception such as women take with a pill, but it's a vaccine. Just as you can be inoculated against a disease like tetanus or smallpox, we can also vaccinate a female animal against pregnancy.
So while the idea of vaccinating a deer against pregnancy may have sounded a little far-fetched, it sounds now as if the Minnetonka City Council has one more thing to consider in its effort to deal with deer within the city.
Is guilty.
That the flag shouldn't be protected. Those
is something that we will no longer do.
All the people from Washington supporting Wellstone have left, and now the 2 candidates stand before the people of Minnesota. And I think what you're beginning to see now is that Boschwitz is starting to surge towards victory. There's roughly 8 or 9% of Minnesotans that are undecided. Traditionally, they go with the challenger. And what the Boschwitz polls are now starting to show is clearly some movement.
Governor, it's nice of you to come up here too. Thank you. New contract, and they each got a $1,000 signing bonus. Everybody who worked there got it, and so he thought this is going to.
Well, the Granada got to us rather quickly. Captain Gary was already on station by Pie Island, as well as the Thunder Bay Coast Guard. The difficulties, as you could imagine, in getting a tow line hooked up were really extreme. Captain Gary and his crew were operating a tug in 15-foot seas, places with decks completely iced, and Captain Gary was very concerned about his crew as well as our welfare, and that's when he made the decision to jump aboard.
You got the realized Lake Superior can turn on you at any time, and she showed it to us the other night, and if I had to relive the experience again to help someone else, I would certainly do it.
It wasn't the alarm clock that woke Bill Powers. It was smoke. Smoke that was coming from his fireplace. At first he thought the damper was closed.
I was laying on the floor and the smoke was thicker and thicker. And so I felt at that time that she had closed the draft on the fireplace box. I checked it, it was open.
Bill quickly realized there was something wrong. He went upstairs to wake his girlfriend. They called 911 right away, then quickly gathered their 3 cats and went outside.
You know, and the smoke was so thick by the time we both came down, we couldn't, after we got out, we couldn't come back in the door. One breath air and it's like too hard on your lungs. My nostrils are still full of smoke.
We need to get the cats out and we'll worry about anything in the house later. Life is the first thing, human life and our animals.
Luckily, firefighters were called in time to prevent a lot of damage, but not everybody is as lucky. Most fire-related does happen in the home. That's why the fire department recommends keeping heating units free of clutter and having them inspected and cleaned by professionals.
They'll not just clean, they'll inspect the connections, the integrity of the chimney, is the appliance properly installed, all those issues when the inspection and cleaning is done. And this is the time of year, actually, we're probably getting a little past it when people should be thinking of doing that.
Mary and Bill say they're thankful the fire wasn't worse.
And glad that we're all okay. Just that, you know, I woke up when I did. If I was laying low on the floor, so the smoke wasn't as thick there, but if it would have, say, been 10 more minutes, we might not have made it.
Angela Wang, Channel 6 News.
Well, I thought it would be something that I could do. I have the time. I've been retired now for a few years, and I thought when I saw the ad in the paper, I thought this would be a good way to help the community, help make it safe for the older people.
I have an elderly aunt whose home was broken into, and she is widowed, has no children, and it was very, very devastating to her. She's 98 years old, and it just scared the daylights out of her. So I thought if I could be of help in making senior citizens feel more secure in their own home, that I would really want to do that.
This was the scene earlier today during the slow morning commute. Cars were slipping and sliding up the hills, while some didn't make it up at all. Duluth police tried to help direct traffic while cars spun and sputtered around each other. No matter where you might be traveling today, this storm will slow you down. If you have plans to fly out of Minneapolis or Duluth, double check them. Over 100 Northwest flights have canceled today because of the wintry weather. Some Northland schools also closed early today. At least 5 schools sent their students home around noon. But city crews are hard at work trying to clean up the mess that Mother Nature left us. Plows and sanders are working around the clock to keep the streets safe.
So it's a very, very small number anyway.
I can tell you that this was considered biased towards the other services that they consume.
There were suggestions made. What we wanted to do, the suggestion was made that our own internal staff do it. Our concern with those types of things is that we want to make sure that the organization we had credibility. The university has credibility with what they do. There could be no question. If the internal staffs did it, they say, hey, the questions were skewed to get the kinds of results that you wanted. Those and ask them to look at it. And we're going to give them a couple of days to respond back. A few days.
Mayor, when you get these results in, what do you plan to do with that information? You're going to disseminate it out to the public, but what are you going to bias it out with?
The bias of the city employees might be toward their own department, but it's not going to be a bias towards the other services that they consume.
The Minnesota Department of Health estimates that smoking was responsible for 6,400 premature deaths in the state last year. A comparable number occurred across the border in Wisconsin. If you've decided to kick the habit today, congratulations. A healthier lifestyle is just a few hours away. It's the start of a brand new day, and if you kick the habit today and stick with it, a brand new, healthier lifestyle will soon be yours. According to the American Cancer Society, when you quit smoking, you stop inhaling 30 chemicals that can cause cancer. If you can put off today's cigarette for just 8 hours, the oxygen level in your blood will increase to normal. If you can go the full 24 hours, your chance of heart attack decreases. Kick the habit for 2 days and nerve endings start regrowing. If you can ignore those smokes for 3 days, breathing will become easier as your lung capacity increases. Kicking the habit can be pretty hard, but it can be done. As they say on TV, just do it. Michelle Lee, Channel 6 News.
What we're doing here is more than just bringing these to the surface and putting them on the market. We're telling the story behind them.
That story started 100 years ago when lumber was king and the Ashland-Bayfield area was a destination for millions of board feet of timber cut from the Northland's virgin forests of oak, maple, hemlock, and pine. Along the way to market out east, some of the logs ended up at the bottom of Chequamegon Bay. There they sat for decades until the Superior Waterlogged Lumber Company of Ashland was created to salvage the rare and gargantuan logs.
These guys that cut these made $1 a day. They got them this far, and I have to think that they're upstairs looking down on us, saying, all right, they finished off our job.
Today, the timber is worth considerably more than it was a century ago, and its recovery has become quite an exciting project. So much so, the state of Wisconsin has just given the city of Ashland a $350,000 Economic Development Award. The money will be lent to the lumber company to buy mill and logging recovery equipment. The project will create 33 jobs and leverage $1.3 million in additional investment, all the result of some once-forgotten waterlogged logs. Michelle Lee, Channel 6 News.
Normally, cooking isn't cause for alarm, but for Laura Whitty, just putting oil in the pan brought an unwelcomed surprise.
I was starting to make dinner, and I put some oil in a wok, and I just walked away for a few minutes, and it overheated, and I heard a bang, and when I went there, it was already in flame.
Laura tried to contain the fire herself, but it was out of her control.
No, I ran for a big cover. It was a big pizza pan, a heavy one, and it fit. It overlapped the wok, so I figured it would smother the flame. But the flame was so hot that it just blew it right off.
She quickly called 911. Her neighbor, who was also a 911 dispatcher, Edith Purcell, was on duty that night and saw the call on her screen.
I was going to ask my partner, is she alone, but I heard her saying, "You're alone in the house, get out of the house." And then I immediately called my husband because I didn't figure I didn't know she'd be able to get out of the house alone.
Luckily, Patrick just got home, got the call, and ran right over to Laura's house.
I could see the fire from the window, and I could see the whole side of the wall was in flames. So I know it was fairly serious fire. And so I just made sure she got out of there because the smoke was real heavy. That's what I was worried about. The smoke was so heavy you couldn't barely see the lights in the house when I opened the door.
Laura was still trying to put out the fire when Patrick arrived.
And I was going to get the fire extinguisher, and Mr. Perrault said, you're going right now. So I was just praying to God the fire trucks would get here before my house went.
And they did. Fire Chief Lyle Johnson says they were able to contain the fire, but had it been a few more minutes, a lot more damage would have occurred.
It was contained in the kitchen, but it's pretty well gutted out the kitchen. It took care of all of our appliances and the cabinets and the exhaust fan and all those things, got right up into the attic real quick, but it got stopped.
Angela Wang, Channel 6 News.
And just the thing that they were able to do this, to come to this point to adopt a child and take it out of an orphanage and give it a loving home, and it's just going to make their life so complete. And this little girl is going to be so well loved and taken care of that it's going to be a wonderful thing for her too. Her Chinese name is Ni Bao, and they have a name picked out, but they wanted to wait till they saw her.
Just before they left, Dad gave him a cross that he carried through Europe in World War II just to take with him for a little good luck charm. And tonight now when they came back in, Kevin, the first thing he pulled out of his pocket was that cross and gave it back to our father. So it really meant something to my dad and for Kevin, so it's really great,
The trip was something that everyone should experience in life. I mean, we left Duluth here on Thanksgiving morning, and we flew basically 18,000 miles altogether.
Everybody comes up to you and squeezes their cheeks, and they're just heartwarmed that these little baby girls are going to good homes. Her name is Leah Grace Bao Bodingheimer. Ni Bao was her Chinese name, which means treasure.
This is the longest labor we've ever had in our family, because we've been gone for 2 weeks.
Okay, so that's what makes it.
3 weeks after fire closed the Hibbing High School until January, some students are wondering about graduating on time. And that fear of a delay is exactly what school officials in Toivola Meadowlands is targeting.
The very first thing that you're going to want to do is draw your triangle.
This week, Toivola Meadowlands placed an ad in the Hibbing Daily Tribune for enrollment.
The school's intention certainly was not for us to play on the misfortune of the Hibbing School District.
Yet the ad offers free busing from Hibbing, states Hibbing High School credits will transfer, and points out classes will end June 6th. Hibbing School Superintendent was not amused.
I think that they want to take advantage of our disaster and pick up a few students.
New students are attractive to a school district. Each student brings in a base rate of $3,500 paid by the state. And with 1,200 Hibbing students temporarily out of school, the possibility of extra money hits home.
Certainly there is a financial benefit to TM Charter, as there is to any school who gains a student in on transfer.
So far, only one student has transferred to Toivola Meadowlands since the fire, but one of TM students also was transferred to Hibbing.
To my knowledge, We have not lost any students to the charter school as a result of as a result of the fire and the open enrollment process.
Whether or not the ad is successful, Hibbing High School is focusing on the students it does have and concentrating on reopening this school. The Hibbing School Board will meet December 18th to discuss those options. On the Iron Range, Maureen Tallarico, Channel 6 News.
We've struggled in this area with the ramps that we've had for patient access. This definitely is related to patient care, as patients and families have had a hard time finding places to park.
The city of Duluth is looking for a few good men and women to become visitor information persons, or VIPs, to help patrol the skywalk system.
We need them to be able to suggest a particular type of restaurant, where they can exchange monies, where they can find lodging, where they can find someone to help fix their car.
The Volunteer Patrol Squad was originally proposed as a crime-fighting team, but Officer Paul Stein says crime is not a problem in the skywalk, and the volunteers will basically be there to help tourists and locals. They will wear identifying jackets and carry cell phones.
Duluthians are filled with people who enjoy their town, who are friendly and have that outgoing ethic to go out of their way to help tourists, and that's what we're looking for. And
organizers say so far, sign-up for the program has been slow.
I think there may be some hesitancy. It's a brand new program, and there always seems to be some hesitancy about new programs starting up.
Right now, 2 volunteers have signed up for the program, but civic groups are interested as well. If you want to get involved, the only qualifications necessary are good health, a good attitude, knowledge of downtown, and knowledge of cell phones. In Duluth, Maureen Tallarico, Channel 6 News.
Called them by name. Now Dasher, now Dancer, now Prancer and Vixen, on Comet and Cupid and Donner and Blitzen. With ashes and such. Face and a little round belly that shook when he laughed. Wondering eyes should appear, but is everyone here being good? Okay, everyone is being bad. Raise your hand. You been bad? No. Not a kid. Sam's never bad. You're not bad either. Are you kids going to all stay awake Christmas Eve and see me? Well, last year you were all sleeping. I wasn't.
We do get calls, you know, I can't do this, can't figure this out. Treadmills, if they come with some working parts or whatever. We have a couple people in the department who can help you out and usually talk them through it on the phone and don't have too much, I'm going to bring this back because I can't, assemble it. So usually we can talk them through it.
Action now.
No, this isn't an updated version of Tarzan and Jane. It's George of the Jungle, Disney's remake of the classic 60s television show. Brendan Fraser plays the title role.
Everyone remembers the song, which hopefully they do. They also remember that George is somewhat navigationally challenged and will always smash into a stationary object. That's all you need to know to make this movie. It's got a cool song and George runs into things. How's it go again? It goes, how's it go again? It goes, George of the jungle, friend to you and me. Da, 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 George of the jungle, watch out for that tree. Now run at the thing. Oh!
While he may enjoy monkeying around on the set, Brendan prefers hanging around.
It's a good gig. It's good for, it's like a big playground every day.
The Cable Guy's Leslie Mann also gets into the swing, co-starring as a beautiful socialite that George instantly goes bananas over. Thomas Hayden Church plays her snobby fiancé who tries to keep them apart.
George may have a beautiful co-star and an evil nemesis in this film, but the real heavy hitter is played by Ty, who's his faithful friend, Shep.
Ty the Elephant? Ty the Elephant's a big star. Ty the Elephant's made more movies than I have.
A-list.
Yeah. She hits her mark every time.
The jungle animals are amazing, but perhaps most surprising for moviegoers will be Brendan's new body. He trained for months before filming to get lean.
Eat well, work out, lots of beer, lots of pizza.
George of the Jungle swings into theaters this summer.
That was very nice that they came and see Kendra and these children when they're sick. He's real cute. I wanted to go to the ice capades and take her to the ice capades, but she's sick, so she can't make it. It was nice that they came to the hospital and visited.
He never missed a day that he didn't come to me and put his arms around me and say, Mom, I love you. Never. That was the last thing he said to me. And I just cherish that memory.
For Ruth Ann Young, memories are all she has of her only son, Kevin. A drunk driver slammed into the car his sister was driving. They were going to church camp. Ruth Ann still has the songbooks that were in the car, now splattered with Kevin's blood.
He was brain dead instantly, but his heart kept beating for about an hour and a half. And Megan was severely injured.
If you think drinking and driving is a victimless crime, you haven't talked to someone like Ruth Ann. She told me the hardest thing in the world is to lose a child. She did because of a drunk driver. Results of a new study in the Journal of the American Medical Association found despite tragic stories like this, people continue to drink and drive, and they do in record numbers.
We're talking about 123 million episodes of alcohol-impaired driving in the United States. That's a huge number of episodes. It's approximately 4 episodes of alcohol-impaired driving every second.
The most sobering finding, 10 million of those episodes were reported by underage drinkers between 18 and 21 years old. That's why experts recommend strict enforcement of laws limiting access of alcohol to young people and lowering the legal blood alcohol level.
We need to lower the legal blood alcohol level for drivers under age 21 to 0.02. That is, enact zero tolerance laws.
Ruth Ann is now involved in Mothers Against Drunk Driving. She tries to reach young people by telling her son's story.
I talk to the teenagers and I tell them to, I tell them my story, tell them how I feel. Tell him for Kevin's 18th birthday, we put a tombstone on his grave. How many kids want a tombstone for their 18th birthday?
For NBC News, I'm Diana Penna.
Mushers, dogs, and spectators alike have all been waiting for the start of the John Bear Grease Sled Dog Race, and officials as well have been looking forward to this day.
He's a good fellow. He's a very fine fellow. He's a wonderful family man and an inspiration to anybody that wants to become a pilot. He would be your example.
Mushers, dogs, and spectators alike have all been waiting for the start of the John Bear Grease Sled Dog Race, and officials as well have been looking forward to this day.
I mean, it's what I live for. It's a year-round job, though. I mean, it takes a lot of preparation. A couple weeks before the race, it's pretty much 13-hour days, but at least 13-hour days, but it's well worth it.
Now, this is the start of the John Bear Grease Sled Dog Race. It starts right here in Duluth. It goes up to Grand Portage and back again to Duluth, and it's about 500 miles. It's one of the toughest races in the country, but mushers say they enjoy it. They see the race as a challenge.
It is. Alaskans have said that many times, and I agree with them. It is tough, but this is the race that I've trained for and bred my dogs over the number of years, so this is the race we're going for.
And support teams agree. It's a difficult race with a lot of work, but someone's got to do it.
Well, it's just a lot of fun because we enjoy being outside, working with the dogs, helping Curtis out. It is an important job, even though, you know, it's a lot of work and you don't get much sleep in that, but it's fun. We're crazy.
Spectators flock to the race for different reasons. Some for the people and some for the dogs.
Oh, I like the camaraderie, and the people are so friendly. It's just wonderful meeting with all the people. We love it.
I like
the dogs the best part of this. I just like looking at the dogs mainly.
Whether you're going to enjoy the people or the dogs, there is one thing for sure. There's nothing like the excitement of competition. Angela Wang, Channel 6 News.
It's kind of boring at home, and there's nothing to do, and you get a lot of action here.
That's just the attitude Spirit Mountain officials hope more and more of Duluth's children will have about the ski hill. This week, a new program kicked off to give children a new after-school activity and at the same time cultivate future business for Spirit Mountain. Spirit Mountain's executive director explains.
It works with the at-risk kids when they're out of school or parents aren't home yet. We give them something to do. It's a 4-time program, very inexpensive, $20 plus transportation. We do have some scholarship opportunities. The ski hut has helped us out with bus transportation.
The after-school ski program coordinator says they seem to have found something the kids like.
There's been a tremendous response, and we had the first group out on Monday, and they were very enthusiastic, and so I guess we're feeling real excited about it too.
Excited might be an understatement. The way Spirit Mountain officials see it, the more youngsters who learn to ski now, the better business will be in years ahead.
We have a community-owned ski hill. We've got 13,000 kids in the school district, and we had maybe 4,000 visits from the kids, and that wasn't even in our school district.
After just the first week of the program, the biggest question in children's minds is when can we hit the slopes?
Because it's really fun and it's, I don't know, it's a lot of skills.